بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Today's dars inshallah, continuing along in our book, being the etiquettes of seeking knowledge or respecting knowledge, تعظيم العلم, the 9th chapter, المقعد التاسعة, المعقد التاسعة. He says الصبر في العلم تحملا وأداء, having patience and seeking knowledge in terms of seeking it and teaching it. إذ كل جليل من الأمور لا يدرك إلا بالصبر وأعظم شيء تتحمل به النفس طلب المعالي تصبيرها عليه. He said for every honorable thing it requires patience. Like if you want to achieve a high status in something, you need to have patience to achieve it. ولهذا كان الصبر والمصابرة مأمورا بهما لتحصيل أصل الإيمان تارة ولتحصيل كماله تارة أخرى، كما قال تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اصبروا وصابروا، وقال تعالى واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه. So he's saying that for this reason patience has been commanded for us in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to achieve the usul al-iman, or the basis of faith, and also in some ayats to complete your iman. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who believe, be patient and steadfast. اصبروا وصابروا. In another ayah Allah says, واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي. Be patient with those who call upon their Lord in the morning and the evening. They desire Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's countenance, His face. قال يحيى ابن أبي كثير في تفسير هذه الآية هي مجالس الفقه ولن يحصل أحد العلم إلا بالصبر ولن يحصل أحد العلم إلا بالصبر. So Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, in this tafsir of this ayah we just read, he said this is sitting in the circles of knowledge, right? And nobody can achieve knowledge except with patience. وقال أيضا لا يستطاع العلم براحة الجسم, that knowledge is not achieved with relaxing your body. Basically, when you want to seek knowledge, to achieve knowledge, it requires sacrifice and patience, right? You might have to sacrifice sleep or eating sometimes, or going out or having fun, or your lower desires. To achieve greatness in anything, you need to sacrifice, right? Like the star athletes, the big businessmen, the professors, the writers, all of them, to achieve greatness in their field, they had to sacrifice something. They had to be patient in their profession to achieve their goals. And the same thing with seeking knowledge. If you want to achieve knowledge, which is the most honorable of gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bestow upon a person, you have to have patience. فَالصَّبْرُ أو فَبِالصَّبْرِ يُخْرَجُ مِنْ مَعَرَّةِ الْجَهْلِ. And with patience, you can leave the disgrace of ignorance. When you're patient and seeking knowledge, you get to leave and get out of ignorance. قال الأصمعي من لم يحتمل ذل التعليم ساعة بقي في ذل الجهل أبدا. If somebody's not patient to humble himself, for a short time, he will remain in ignorance for the remainder of his life. So sacrificing some time and effort to achieve knowledge and become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can get out of the circle of ignorance, but if you don't humble yourself, you don't be patient, then he says that person will remain in ignorance for the remainder of his life. وَبِهِ تُدْرَكُ لَذَّةِ الْعِلْمِ. And with patience you can reach the sweetness of knowledge. قال بعض السلف من لم يحتمل ألم التعليم لم يذق لذة العلم. That some of the predecessors, the pious predecessors before us, they used to say that whoever is not able to take the pain of education, of learning, of studying, all these hardships you have to go through, won't taste the sweetness of knowledge. ولا بد دون شهد من سم لسعة. Another narration, some Arabs say من يريد العسل يصبر على قرص النحل. Like basically both these statements are saying that whoever wants to get the honey, the bee, from the honey from the bee's hive, he has to be patient with getting stung. When you want to enjoy that sweet, delicious honey, sometimes you have to get stung in order to get it. He's saying the same thing with knowledge. If you want to achieve the greatness in knowledge, you have to have patience, and you might suffer, you might have to sacrifice some things, but the sweetness of the knowledge that you get makes it worth it. مجلس درس متلفة لا يستطيع أن يصبر فيه، وعلى العبد أن يراغم نفسه وأن يجاهد شيطانه في مواقع العبادة، فإن ثبات المأمور به من أعظم منازل مجالس العلم. ومن حمل على نفسه مدة في ذلك استطابت هذا وألفته حتى صار عادة لها لا تنفك عنها. He's saying for the person to strive and push himself and fight his shaytan and trying to seek knowledge. When you try to go to seek knowledge, shaytan is going to try to hold you back because he doesn't want you to become knowledgeable in the deen. Because the more knowledgeable you have, and the more knowledge you have in the religion, the more you can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala properly, and that's the opposite what the shaitan wants. So he's saying basically fight your shaitan with being patient and sitting in the circles of knowledge to gain understanding. And it's a form of worship. One of the best forms of worship is to seek knowledge, right? So he's saying that it's one of the greatest things that you can achieve, so be patient with it. ومن حمل على نفسه مدة في ذلك استطابت هذه وألفته حتى صار عادة لها لا تنفك عنها. And the more patient you are in seeking knowledge, it's hard at first, but it becomes easy to the nafs after some time. The more you force it to seek knowledge, and you sacrifice and you sit and you be patient, the easier it becomes, to the point that it becomes something desirable for the person, and he starts loving it, and it starts becoming a part of his natural habits, right? So that's the process in anything, even with worship, the same thing. Sometimes to get up in the night prayer is a little bit difficult, but when you force yourself to do it, and you start making it a habit little by little, and you start increasing it, then you come to the point where you can't live without it anymore. It's like a sweetness of your iman, like a pleasure of your heart now. So at first it's tough, it's hard because shaitan is trying to push you away from it. But you keep pushing yourself and you keep striving, and then inshallah it becomes easy, and it comes to the point that you hate to miss it anymore. كما يذكر في بعض أحوال السلف أنهم كانوا يقفون للمذاكرة عند باب المسجد عند صلاة العشاء فلا يشعرون إلا وقد أذن الفجر، لأن لذة العلم غلبت على قلوبهم فأنستهم عادة النوم. فمن غلب على قلبه حب العلم وقصد التقرب به إلى الله كان ذلك من أعظم ما يعينه على الصبر في مجالسه. He's saying that according to some of the Salaf, the scholars of the past, there's reports that they would start studying a chapter of knowledge with each other after Salat al-Isha, and then they would be so into it and they love it so much, and they would be appreciating it so much that they realize they forgot the time, and then they wouldn't realize until they heard the adhan of Fajr. So from Isha till Fajr they were studying and they didn't even know it was that long, and then the Fajr came and they were surprised it was Fajr, because their hearts became so attached to knowledge and they loved it so much they didn't even pay attention to the lack of sleep, the pleasure of sleep. It was the pleasure of knowledge overtook the pleasure of sleep. And this is how you can train yourself with any form of worship. وكان يقال من لم يركب مصاعب لم ينل الرغائب. And it also is stated that some people, if you don't go through hardships, you can't reach your goals, right? Or if you don't suffer through the hardships, you won't enjoy the ease as much. So the more hardships you go, the more you appreciate the thing that you sacrifice to get to. وَصَبْرُ الْعِلْمِ نوعان. The patience in seeking knowledge, or knowledge in general, are of two types. The first one, أحدهما صبر في تحمله وأخذه. فالحفظ يحتاج إلى الصبر والفهم يحتاج إلى الصبر وحضور مجالس العلم يحتاج إلى الصبر ورعاية حق الشيخ يحتاج إلى الصبر. So he's saying that there needs to be, the first type of patience is patience in seeking knowledge. For verily memorizing takes patience. Understanding takes patience. Attending these type of lectures, or attending lectures in general, or majalis al-ilm, takes patience. Being respectful to the teacher, or giving the teacher, the sheikh, his proper right, takes patience, right? So the first type of patience that's required is just being patient and attaining the knowledge itself. The second type, والنوع الثاني صبر في أدائه وبثه وتبليغه إلى أهله فالجلوس للمتعلمين يحتاج إلى الصبر وإفهامهم يحتاج إلى الصبر واحتمال زلاتهم يحتاج إلى الصبر. The second type of patience you need in knowledge is in teaching it, right? For verily in teaching knowledge and spreading it to your family or to your friends or to the people, it takes patience. To have classes, it takes patience. To make the students understand, it takes patience. To be able to accept the mistakes of the students and their shortcomings and their faults, and basically kind of cater to them, it takes patience, right? So the main types of patience is in attaining the knowledge and spreading the knowledge. In both types of both categories, you need patience, right? Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He swears by wal asr innal insana lafi khusr إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. So Allah is saying, swearing by the time that all humankind are in a state of loss, except those who encourage patience, right? إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات, those that have faith and do good deeds and encourage each other in patience and encourage each other in truth, right? And some of the scholars say that having patience upon delivering the message, because when you encourage the truth, you're going to face hardship sometimes. So you have to have patience. Then he says, وفوق هذين نوعين من صبر العلم الصبر على الصبر فيهما والثبات عليهما. And above these two requires patience upon patience. Basically he's saying, like even having patience requires patience. So the more patience you have, the more you can achieve greatness, inshaAllah. لكل إلى شأو العلا وثبات ولكن عزيز في الرجال ثبات. He's saying for any greatness that you want to achieve requires thabat, steadfastness, right? Like we said earlier, if you want to achieve greatness in any field, you need patience. You need to be steadfast. And he said, ولكن عزيز في الرجال ثبات. But it's very rare amongst men or people in general to have the thabat. People, they want the fruits without the struggle. They expect that they can become scholars without putting in the work, right? Or they want to become millionaires without ever saving up any money. Or they want to become star athletes without putting in the practice. Anything that you want to be successful in, you have to put in the work for it, especially knowledge. Like the scholars, they said, if you give all of yourself to knowledge, it'll give you some of it back, right? وَمَنْ يَلْزِمْ الصَّبْرِ يَظْفَرْ بِالرَّشَدِ. And whoever is steadfast in patience will be rewarded with guidance. قال أبو يعلى الموصولي المحدث, the great scholar of hadith, Abu Ya'la al-Mawsuli, he said, إني رأيت وفي الأيام تجربة للصبر عاقبة محمودة الأثر وقل من جد في أمر تطلبه واستصحب الصبر إلا فاز بالظفر. So he's saying that basically from his experience in living throughout these many years and seeing these many days, for people that have patience, they're going to end up with something praiseworthy. Like they're going to be praised for it. And unfortunately, it's very few who strive and struggle to seek this knowledge. But if a person is patient, he will achieve success. So the more patience you have, the more success you have. And patience is part of the deen. Like the asl kalimat sabr is habs, or like holding back, right? Restraining. That's what the patience means in the Arabic language. And in Islam, you have like sabr ala ta'a wa sabr ala an al-ma'siyah wa sabr ala al-ibtila. So patience can be in the deen of Islam is described as being patient upon worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing the ibadat, patient from going into the haram, and patience when a trial or tribulation comes upon you, right? And the more sabr you have, the greater your iman is. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he said, as-sabru nisf ad-din. that patience is half of religion. In some, I think in the Quran it's mentioned over 90 times to show how important patience is. So Allah is teaching us, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Seek assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in patience and prayer. Right? If you want to achieve a goal, you have to have patience. Those that don't have patience, they're not going to succeed. Yes, brother. That was the end of the chapter anyway, so if you guys have any questions. So the brother is asking basically if this is discussing Islamic knowledge or materialistic knowledge. Which one is it the Shaykh talking about? And specifically he's talking about Islamic knowledge in this book. And most of the books of Islamic books or in the Quran, the beneficial knowledge they're talking about is the knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah and the Deen of Islam in general, because that's the knowledge that will help you in the Deen, the Dunya and the Akhirah. So the ulum al-dunyawiyya, or the materialistic knowledge, it's be accordance to the need of the society that you're in. So sometimes it's obligatory for certain people in that society as Muslims to seek certain worldly type of knowledges to better the ummah, to help other Muslims. So sometimes it can become fard kifaya, for example, which is obligatory upon the whole ummah until a certain amount of the ummah fulfill the need required, then the obligation falls off of the whole ummah. But talab al-ilm ad-dini is fard ayn, like the knowledge that you need to establish the basis of your religious affairs is obligatory upon every Muslim. Like every Muslim needs to know the basics of the Shahada, understanding La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Every Muslim should know the basics of their salat, of their siyam, of their zakat, and of their hajj. And if they're working in business, they should know the basics of the business that they're doing and to stay away from the haram, right? And so forth. Going on in deeper knowledge, obviously that's fard kifaya or preferred or mustahab, but it's not obligatory upon every Muslim to become a scholar in Islam, right? Just the obligation is to know the basics of your deen, right? So inshallah that answered the question.
Yeah, sure. We can follow the same principles here on the ulum dunyawiyya.
Yeah, I mean these principles that in general the scholar is mentioning can be applied to any field of life. Like if you don't have patience and perseverance or sacrifice, most likely you're not going to achieve greatness in the field that you're trying to achieve greatness in, whether it be in sports, whether it be in engineering, whether it be a doctor. If you want to be like the best of the best or the top of your class, it takes sacrifice to achieve greatness. Some people, they spend and seeking knowledge, I know personally some students they spend 12 to 15 hours a day studying, and then I know people that have become successful in sports, how many hours did they, like we used to go to school, then afterwards you'd go to your gym and sit with the coach for 4 or 5 hours and come home and do homework, and so it takes sacrifice if you want to reach greatness in anything. But especially in religious knowledge, like the scholars, they say if you give it some, you'll get nothing basically. If you give it all, you'll get some, because the knowledge is like an ocean. Obviously no one can get the whole ocean, but the more you put into it, the more you can attain from that ocean, the better understanding you have, and the closer you get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more you be patient and seek knowledge, the more Allah facilitates for you understanding. It makes it easier to achieve knowledge. Like the Imam was saying, once you have patience and you force yourself to do something, at first it's tough, but then it becomes like sweet, like you enjoy it, you love it so much. Inshallah.
I told you I have a lot.
Alhamdulillah, it's good, Jazakallah khair. Yeah, definitely like pondering upon the worldly type of knowledges can increase your iman. Like if you look at the earth itself, how it's at a certain angle and it's rotating at a certain speed. If that speed was to increase, there would be the days and nights would be very quick. And then if it was to decrease, the days and night would be very long, to the point that some parts of the earth would start burning up, because it would be too hot, right? And some parts of the earth would be very cold, and it would be like, just for that little angle, the perfect angle it's at, and the perfect speed, if it would beat off of an angle or increase and decrease in speed, it would throw off everything. Just looking at that, like looking how it's at the perfect distance from the sun, all these type of scientific, facts that increases your iman. It should increase your iman and show to the Creator. Looking at your own bodies, the cells, how you were created. When you look at the plants around you, that little seed becomes an oak tree. That tiny seed like this becomes the oak tree. You from a sperm and egg that you couldn't even see before became a human being, right? How do the cells in the body, they know, subhanAllah, like there's certain cells that divide so you can grow. The blood cells, the skin cells, how they replenish themselves. But there's other certain cells that don't multiply. Did you guys know that? Which cells? Huh? Yeah, they can. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards upon attention. But, like I was just talking about the miracle of the cells, how the brain cells, they don't multiply. Like if you think about it, why? Because if the brain cells renewed and multiplied, then you wouldn't have a personality, you wouldn't have memory. You'd be changing every single day. But how did the cells know that? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just looking at basic science increases your iman. The systems within your own body, it's like a universe. You have like armies of like white blood cells. When you get infections, they go and attack the infectious diseases. When you have your heartbeat, how it beats at the perfect rate continuously for your whole life without you ever doing anything about it. How you breathe, how you sleep, your eyes. There no machine in the world can compare to your eyes. All these things should like increase your iman, and you get it by studying and learning, obviously. So if a person is sincere at whatever job he does, I know several scholars that they were like medical doctors, they were engineers, and they were great scholars as well. So there's no like discrepancy or contradiction of trying to be good in the deen and the dunya. Wallahu a'lam. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.